Hey everybody, this is Anthony with you again from Biblical Truth Reality. Welcome back to another video refuting the Atheist Experience channel. In this video, the atheist is going to charge God with immorality by tying it to the collar, which the collar was weird in his response, even though he was very rudely cut off. You'll see that in this video clip. But the atheist is going to try to say that he's immoral by their standard, because he says by our definition. Well, you see, you atheists out there, that's just you saying it though. Because what if Hitler or Stalin comes along and says what's going to make them happy is to kill you and take your stuff? Because they can. By their definition, you deserve extermination, you deserve death, and whatever it is that their standard was. So according to their definition, you deserve death. And you're immoral, and you're evil, and you should not be allowed to live. So who's right? Is it you who is right by your definition? Or is it Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler? You see, these are things atheists cannot answer. They're going to stumble and stutter and sputter in their argument because they don't have the humility to admit they're wrong. So you atheists, get your head straight. Unless you have an objective moral standard, you can't judge anybody as immoral, a monster, evil, or wrong, etc. You can't do any of that. So watch this video clip, and you'll see that they stumble and contradict themselves as the hypocrites that atheists are. Enjoy the video, have an open mind, and see the truth for yourself.
Divine command theory. Your ethical system is called divine command theory, right?
Right.
Let me ask you this final question. If God told you to go kill your child, would you do it?
Yes, if they did do it, God who
You are immoral.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's
are a
your
monster.
definition of morality is twisted and sick, and just because you get it from the Bible doesn't make it okay. And I want nothing to do with that kind of morality. Nothing.
Yeah, you are, by our definition, evil. You are wrong. You are immoral.
Divine command theory. Logic is the grounds to refute atheism. Logic simply means correct reasoning and thinking. The only way to correctly reason and think is by three things: facts, reality, and probability. These three elements are what logic consists of. God is logic. Logic is fair, consistent, thorough, and reasonable. Did you know that you don't need scripture to know what is true or probable or not? The main problem with objections of God is they exercise double standards and no consistency in their arguments. 1. Your ethical system is called divine command theory. Rebuttal. Definition. Divine command theory is a meta-ethical theory which proposes that an action's status as morally good is equivalent to whether it is commanded by God. The theory asserts that what is moral is determined by God's commands and that for a person to be moral he is to follow God's commands. Wikipedia. This is true. However, the atheist will twist this and use it to his advantage to question a Christian of an Old Testament event. 2. Let me ask you this final question. If God told you to go kill your child, would you do it? Caller says, yes. I think if it was God who. Rebuttal. He may be referring to Abraham being told by God to offer him as a sacrifice. He didn't indicate that, but he might be. Just in case if he is, let's settle the matter. Genesis 22:1 And it came to pass after these things, that God did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Behold, here I am. 22:2 And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. God told him to offer his son, not kill him. Big difference. Now it is true that offerings were done by killing the animals. But later we will see why God said offer and not kill or sacrifice. 22:11 And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham, and he said, Here am I. 22:12 And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son from me. God told Abraham to stop and not harm him at all. Why? Because God was testing him. He passed the test. 22:13 And Abraham lifted up his eyes, and looked, and behold behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns, and Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. God always provides a substitute. Now would the atheist consider this immoral? Yes, because he assumes that God told Abraham to kill his son. That's not true. To answer his question, If God told me to kill my child when I do it? The answer is, that depends. Would God tell me to murder my child? No, because his nature is perfect, sinless, inerrant. Murder, Webster's 1828, the act of unlawfully killing a human being with premeditated malice, by a person of sound mind. To constitute murder in law, the person killing another must be of sound mind or in possession of his reason, and the act must be done with malice pretense, aforethought or premeditated, but malice may be implied, as well as express. Malice, Webster's 1828, extreme enmity of heart, or malevolence, a disposition to injure others without cause, from mere personal gratification or from a spirit of revenge, unprovoked malignity or spite. Malice is linked of wickedness, childish, evil speaking, bitter, hatred, and envy. Murder is simply killing somebody for personal gain. In the King James Bible you cannot find one instance where God murdered anyone or even commanded us to murder anybody. This is where the atheist falls apart because they cannot define what objective morality is because they don't believe in it. Therefore they cannot say anybody is immoral, evil, wrong, or a monster. Such words, besides wrong, are used by this contradicting hypocritical atheist in this video clip. The atheist says, in rudely interrupting the caller, says this: "You are immoral. You are a monster. Your definition of morality is twisted and sick. And just because you get it from Bible, doesn't make it okay. And I want nothing to do with that kind of morality." Rebuttal. He labels him as immoral and a monster. Two summary definitions from Webster's 1828. Immoral. Wicked, unjust, vicious, dishonest in practice. Also everyone who violates a divine law or a social duty is immoral. Monster. An animal produced with a shape or with parts that are not natural as in disfigurement. Also a person as wicked as to appear horrible or mischievous. So this atheist essentially is concluding the caller as a wicked, vicious, dishonest person in practice who's like an animal disfigured or with the appearance as horrible or mischievous. On what grounds or what basis do you make that conclusion? You only have three options. 1. Individuals. That won't work because many people's views are different. Who is right? The Apostle Paul or Hitler? There's no way to prove either case as fact. Are you basing your conclusion on what you personally think? That won't work because what do you do when somebody else contradicts you? But you say, well, we go by the majority what they think. That leads us to the second option, society. 2. Society. That won't work because many societies are different. Who is right? The US, Korea, Russia, etc. Who is right? There is no way to prove either case. If morality begins and ends with us, then everything is just mere opinion or preference. There's no way you can apply accurately and literally the words immoral, monster, right, wrong, good, bad, etc. because those are all absolute objective conclusions. One more option and that is God. 3. God. That works because since he is the creator then he makes the rules. He is the boss. Now I can know objectively right and wrong because it comes from the source higher and outside of us. If there is no God then anything we consider moral is only based on opinion and not fact. Of course the atheist is going to reject the third option, which is the only logical consistent option. So he will go with either the individual or society. Which will result in a never-ending circular argument. And I know they do that because of his last statement. You are, by our definition, evil. You are wrong. You are immoral. Rebuttal. By our definition. Really? When you say the word, our, do you mean the United States of America? Do you mean the Caucasian race, since he is Caucasian? Are you referring to our as in our atheistic circle? You notice he did not specify specifically what he meant by our definition. Most things we consider to be immoral or monstrous conduct or activity, people like Adolf Hitler thought to be good, pure and necessary. So in that case, who's right? Adolf Hitler or the United States? If we sent troops to Europe to stop Hitler for practicing tyranny over people, we were hypocrites because according to history we were practicing tyranny over people as well. We were oppressing blacks, Hispanics, we put 110,000 Japanese people in American concentration camps all because they were Japanese, etc. Atheists do not believe in an objective moral standard. So he's a hypocrite when he says, by our definition, because he has no objective standard. He cannot say anybody is immoral or a monster or evil because he has no objective basis to judge such things or people. And just in case if you dumb atheists out there want to try to pull the religious argument by saying, well, more people have been killed in the name of God than for any other reason, that's not true. Staunch atheist Joseph Stalin was responsible for the death of 20 million of his own people. Was that in the name of religion? No. He chose that for selfish reasons. How about in our land? Richard Speck, John Wayne Gacy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, Gary Ridgway, etc. All these people were atheists in practice and belief. Jeffrey Dahmer basically stated that he did what he did based on his beliefs of atheism and the theory of evolution. His father was being interviewed and he quoted his son when Jeffrey asked the question, "If it all happens naturalistically, what need is there for a God? Can't I make my own rules? Who owns me? I own myself." So you atheists who blame religion for more deaths in the world, how do you explain that? You can't say that he's lying about it because number one, you never met Jeffrey Dahmer personally, and secondly, you don't have an objective standard to judge him as a liar anyways. His statement, "You are, by our definition, evil. You are wrong. You are immoral." That is illogical and inconsistent. He has no basis to label him by such terms. Because that's him saying it. What if Hitler or Stalin comes along and says what's going to make them happy is to kill you and take your stuff because they have the power to? Are they still wrong? Atheists or agnostics don't have any basis to judge such things objectively. Therefore they cannot say they are wrong or immoral or monsters because they have no standard. And just in case if they do say, well, it's by the majority because the majority of people think that murder is wrong. Okay, I agree with that. I believe that all people know the basis of right and wrong. The question is, how does that knowledge of the standard get there? One option from atheists is that it evolved or appeared through the process of evolution. Can evolution account for morality? The answer is no. 1. Moral laws are not chemical or biological, they are immaterial and come from personal agents. 2. Chemistry and biology are descriptive, not prescriptive. Evolution describes what does survive, not what ought to survive. Why humans? Should we rape to survive? 3. Should we murder the weak to help others survive? 4. Since evolution is a process of change, then morals must change. Therefore, would it be wrong for the government to legalize rape? 5. Why cooperate when not cooperating often helps you survive? For example, Joseph Stalin did not cooperate much with anybody. Question for you atheists, is it wrong to murder and rape? Of course, at least most of them would say, yes. Okay, why? What response do they have other than, because it sucks for the person that they are murdering or raping? Or another response is, because it's wrong to force your will on someone else. Okay, but it might be fun for the person doing it, and the police enforce the government's will on people all the time. Are they wrong? If you're going to say that things like rape is wrong, but you have to objectively explain why it is wrong to force your personal will on somebody else. The problem is there are many different personal agendas or reasons of force. Therefore you would have to objectively judge why it is wrong to force your personal agenda on somebody else. How would you judge that? You can't do it by looking at human beings for the standard because many are going to have a different opinion. Rape can only be wrong if you have a God that says it's wrong because otherwise you can't say it is. All you can say is that you personally don't agree with it. This is why there must be a God. If there is no objective morality outside of us, then we cannot say that Hitler was wrong. Morality cannot begin or end with us. It must come from God. A person can only say that the Nazis were wrong if there's a God that says that killing and racism is wrong. But if it's just the person saying it, they cannot prove it because it's just their opinion. Nobody's opinion has any value.